Okay, so as previously mentioned, we are now looking at the organization and characteristics of the nervous system. The first one we look at is the peripheral nervous system, which is made up of nerves that lie outside the brain and spinal cord. It has cranial as well as optic nerves. Okay, then we look at the somatic nervous system, which is concerned with voluntary action. Here we have functions, or it has functions that require the afferent nerve fibers, which are axons that carry information inward to the central nervous system from the periphery, as well as efferent nerve fibers, which carry information outward from the central nervous system to the periphery of the body. Okay? And then we have your autonomic nervous system, which is concerned or controls involuntary functions or actions which are centered around physiological arousal, such as your fight or flight response. Here, this particular nervous system can be subdivided into the sympathetic and the parasympathetic division or nervous systems. Okay? And then we have your central nervous system, which consists of the brain and the spinal cord and is protected by the skull as well as meninges. Know your meninges. Guys, you have your dura mater and you have your arachnoid membrane as well as your pia mater. There's no master pronunciation, as I previously mentioned, either mater or mater, but just spelling. Okay, and then we have neuroscientists. These are people who conduct research on the brain as well as other parts of the nervous system. The first one we look at, or the first type of research that we look at, is electroencephalography, EEG. Before you abbreviate, guys, make sure you write the full term, otherwise marks will get deducted. Okay, so the electroencephalograph was invented in 1929 by Hans Berger, and it basically monitors electrical activity of the brain over time by recording electrodes that are attached to the surface of the scalp. Okay, so we read frequencies, okay, such as your delta, your theta, or your theta, and your alpha and beta. Okay, so your delta has the lowest frequency and represents the unconscious, while your theta represents the subconscious and is often experienced during deep sleep. Your alpha is observed during your relaxed state, while your beta is observed when you're super alert. Okay, when we lesion, this is when we destroy a piece of the brain, and when we perform electrical stimulation of the brain, this is when we send a weak current into a brain structure with the aim of activating it. Okay, during transcranial magnetic stimulation, this is where we temporarily enhance or depress activity in a specific area of the brain. Okay, then neuropsychology is a branch of psychology concerned with the interaction between biological aspects of the brain and psychological, as well as the behavioral expressions thereof. Okay, now looking at brain imaging procedures. Your CT scans are computer-enhanced X-rays of the brain structure. These are less costly compared to other scans. Okay, and then your positron emission tomography, your PET scans, also examine the brain functions and they map the actual activity of the brain over time. Okay, while your MRI scans map out the brain structure and produce 3D images of the brain. Okay, while your fMRI monitor blood flow and oxygen consumption in the brain to identify areas that are highly active. Okay, so looking at the brain and behavior. We have the hindbrain, the midbrain, as well as the front or the forebrain. Okay, so the hindbrain includes the cerebellum and the medulla, as well as the pons. You just need to know your definitions, guys. I cannot stress this enough. Okay, so for example, your medulla controls the unconscious but vital functions such as your breathing and your blood circulation, while your pons are involved in sleep as well as arousal. Okay, your cerebellum has to do with coordination, or is responsible for the coordination of movement and sense of balance or equilibrium. Okay, looking at the midbrain, which lies between the hindbrain and the forebrain, it contains an area concerned with integrating sensory processes such as your vision and your hearing, which we will do in the next chapter, that is chapter 4. Okay, and then your forebrain is the largest and most complex part of the brain and contains the thalamus, the hypothalamus, and the limbic system, as well as the cerebrum. Okay, note that your cerebrum is a center of complex thought. Now, the thalamus is a relay station where all sensory information, excluding smell, must pass through in order to get to the cerebral cortex. Your hypothalamus is a regulator of biological needs. And your limbic system is a center of emotion, which regulates emotion, memory, as well as motivation. Okay. When we look at plasticity of the brain, here we just need to know that neural wiring of the brain is flexible and constantly evolving. Okay, so neurogenesis is the formation of new neurons. Okay, now psychoneuroimmunology, this is a field linking psychological and behavioral factors with neurological and physiological processes that impact upon immune system functions. While your biopsychosocial model uses a combination of biological, psychological, and socio-cultural perspectives to understand the development, course, and treatment of illnesses. Okay, when we look at cerebral laterality, just know that Paul Broca is a major contributor when it comes to this term, okay? And the left hemisphere is believed to control language. Here we have your Broca's area, which is centered or located in the frontal lobe and is responsible for the production of language. We also have your Wernicke's area, which is on your temporal lobe and has to do with the comprehension of language. Okay, and in split brain surgery, the corpus callosum is cut to reduce the severity of epileptic seizures. Okay? Now looking at the endocrine system, which is the last segment of chapter 3, the endocrine system consists of glands that control bodily functioning. It secretes messengers called hormones, not neurotransmitters this time around, but hormones. Okay? So your neural messages are transmitted along short distances at the speed of light, whereas your hormonal messages, which are produced by your endocrine system, often travel to distant cells at a much slower speed. Guys, that brings us to the end of chapter 3. We are going to move on to chapter 4. I trust you understand everything. Please watch this video again and again and again if need be. Consult. You know we have consultation hours. We also have particular email addresses that you can contact us on. And query, man. Ask questions. Feel free. There's no stupid question. There's no stupid answer. If I ask you something and you answer me and you're a bit nervous to do so, please fear not. Do not be intimidated. We're here to help. So relax, learn, and slay all day.